What's good, everyone? And this is Faizan here, aka the SocioGuy, and I am here with my first of many A-level sociology videos. And I just want to give you a little breakdown of what I plan to do and how I plan to plan these videos out for you guys. So I'm not going to cover every aspect of the course with these videos. My aim is to kind of touch on those important topics that can be conceptually confusing for the students to study. So we're going to go through family first of all, and again, like I said, I'm going to touch upon those important topics that set the tone for your chapter and also give you a bit of breathing room when it comes to revision of these topics, as things like the fifth thesis, what I'm going to talk about today, can be confusing, or the relationship between family and the economy. All these concepts are a bit complicated. They're a departure from O-level sociology, and when you dive into the A-level syllabus, you'll realize it's a lot more to do with analysis and interlinking concepts, not as much as just straight up giving 2 or 3 advantages and disadvantages here and there. So in family, we study the change in family, what led to the changes in family structure, what affects family formation, how the family is impacted by the state, how the family is impacted by the economy, or how the economy impacts the family, and a lot of these different interlinking structural concepts that have an effect on the family itself. So instead of giving you a rundown of all the different family types, which is very basic and everyone watching this video should be familiar with, I'm going to dive right into the fifth thesis, which is our first point of analysis in our chapter on family. And this is a functionalist theory. And since it is a functionalist theory, this looks at the relationship between family and the other institutions, and what changes in the wider structural environment led to changes in the family. So our point of analysis in the fifth thesis actually begins with pre-industrial society. And we need to understand the characteristics of the society in order to understand the characteristics of the family in that society. So this pre-industrial society, there was no factory-based production, right? Everything was based on a subsistence agricultural economy. And since it was this subsistence-based economy, there really wasn't any market for buying goods or selling goods. No one was concerned with buying shirts or buying shoes. People were simply just getting by. They were just farming. They had their families with them. And any excess crops they would grow, they would go out in the market to sell, to maybe just buy some more food, or maybe barter some crops they had in excess for some more grain or some more rice or whatever their staple was. And since it was a subsistence-based economy, it was a labor-intensive production process. People were hands-on involved in the production of the crops. As we know, it's a very labor-intensive process, farming. You have to be out in the fields, you have to plow the fields, you have to water the crops. And this isn't an age before technology. This isn't an age before you had tractors, you had automatic sprinkler systems, and a whole host of other goodies that would help you out in farming. And since this was a labor-intensive production process, this did not require a skilled labor force. And since it did not require a skilled labor force, we didn't have what is known as the formal education system, and by extension, we didn't have what is known as the institution of education. And by consequence of this, the fact that you need your family to help you out with the production process in this farming, you had very large extended family types. Families would be anything from, let's say, 5 to 10 individuals consisting of siblings, cousins, aunts, grandparents, and everyone would play a part in the production process, in the plowing of the fields, in the thing of the seeds, not thing, but like in the sowing of the seeds. Yes, thank you, Asad. I'm not a farmer, man. And so not just the production process, the family members looked out for each other since it's an extended family form, right? People are there as a support system. They train them in other skills as well, such as basket weaving or any of these craft skills that would come in handy around the house. And now when we move down the board, I hope you guys can see this. I've in red marked out two important developments that affected our pre-industrial society, and two important developments that impacted the education needed for people and the nature of the economy, and by extension, the nature of work itself. And what this process is industrialization. Now, we all know what industrialization is here, right? We've all done history in class 8. It was when you started having steam power, coal power, factories started to come up. There was a massive movement of the labor force into cities. For example, in England, Manchester was the city where you had a huge booming textile industry, and because of that, people started moving into the cities. And this is a phenomenon known as geographical mobility. Now, this geographical mobility, the need for the workforce to move towards the source of income, to the source of production, is known as urbanization. And this caused an influx of people to move from the rural areas into the city centers where these factories were located. And what impact did this have on society? Of course, first of all, your economy changed from a subsistence-based economy to an industrial economy, which was based on factory-based production. What that did was centralize all your tools for production, and as a consequence, that centralized the need for people to be around those tools of production. You no longer had little bits and pieces of farmers all over the countryside in their own little farms. Now you had these farmers giving up their pickaxes and hoes and moving into the factory, moving into the city. And what this did was change the production process of the nature of work. It became more capital intensive. People were using machines for the first time. People were using more teamwork related production processes within the factory setting as well. So this changed the need for interaction. This changed the need for skills in the labor as well. And because of that, now your labor needed to be semi-skilled or skilled in nature. And the fact that your labor needed this skill level, it caused a change in the need for education. This is when education itself started to become more formal in nature. This is when your Institute of Education came to be. You had to send your labor force to get trained to use these machines, right? And since people were moving into the towns, there was geographical mobility, these large families were breaking up. People were leaving either on their own, or people were leaving with just their wife and children to move into the city center to work in a factory, and this caused family sizes to grow smaller. And over the years, the decades, and a couple of generations later, family sizes automatically moved from like this large extended family type, this extended form, into this smaller nuclear form consisting of parents, children, and maybe a grandparent, right? And this was also a byproduct of cost saving. It makes more sense financially for families to be smaller and living in a city where conditions are kind of cramped, you don't have the best of housing, but you need to go to that place for your job, right? It is your source of income, it's your source of livelihood. So to recap, pre-industrial society, large extended families because of subsistence-based economy. Post-industrial society, industrialization happened, urbanization happened, families became smaller, and the need for education increased, and the nature of the economy changed. So it was these two processes that changed our family from extended form to the nuclear form. I hope you guys found that informative. I couldn't dive into any of the evidence for this, which is given by Parsons and Good. Hopefully in the next video I can cover that along with the criticisms against the fifth thesis. So take care.